On Sunday, Andrew Cuomo tried to play off the multiple allegations of sexual harassment as jokes that were misinterpreted as unwanted flirtation. In recent days, allegations of sexual harassment have been brought to national attention by two of the of New York's governor's former staffers. In a post on Medium, Lindsey Boylan, whom I've talked about before here, said Cuomo created a culture within his administration where sexual harassment and bullying is so pervasive that it is not only condoned, but expected. Boylan further recalled an unwanted kiss from Cuomo in which he stepped in front of her as she was trying to leave his office. She also detailed the governor touching her lower back, arms, and legs. Boylan originally spoke out about claims of sexual harassment from Cuomo last December on her Twitter. On Wednesday, Caitlin Gurod, spokeswoman for the governor, said Boylan's claims of inappropriate behavior are quite simply false. Here's a clip of Governor Cuomo responding to her initial allegations at the end of 2020.
Yeah, I heard about the tweet and what it said about comments that I had made. And it's not true, Zach. Look, I fought for and I believe a woman has the right to come forward and express her opinion and express issues and concerns that she has. But it's just not true.
And on Saturday, Cuomo's former executive assistant and health policy advisor, Charlotte Bennett, alleged the New York Times that Cuomo had made a series of inappropriate remarks that left her convinced he wanted to sleep with her. And this is the second woman. On Sunday, Cuomo released a statement denying these allegations, saying, quote, I now understand that my interactions may have been insensitive or too personal, and that some of my comments, given my position, made others feel in ways I never intended. Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, has requested that the matter be referred to her office by the governor, which Cuomo had been hesitating to do. A number of Democratic politicians from New York have weighed in on the matter, including AOC, who tweeted out, Lindsey Boylan and Charlotte Bennett's detailed accounts of sexual harassment by Governor Cuomo are extremely serious and painful to read. There must be an independent investigation, not one led by an individual selected by the governor, but by the Office of the Attorney General. Alexander Biaggi, the Democratic chair of the state Senate's Ethics and Internal Governance Committee, has even gone so far as to call for Cuomo's resignation. So,
wow.
Set it down. It's time to go.
I know. Look, here you go. He got to go because I reported on this at the end of last year for the Benjamin Dixon show. But I reported on this and I started the whole story off with, Lindsey Boylan, who was the first woman to come out that worked for him and accuse him of sexual harassment. And I said, why isn't her story getting any attention at all? It was literally just on Twitter, went to like maybe 2 publications, and that was that, right?
Oh, good morning. No, that was
Ben and okay, look, I'm the only person. Can you see me? Can y'all see me? Look. Okay. So about the Cuomo, while we get the background together, with Andrew Cuomo, I covered the story, and it seemed like only 2 publications were the ones to cover what was going on, and the people who covered it put it in a way as if, because she is running for a position in New York, and they were saying she was just doing this because of that particular position. Right. And in this moment, I think that now that it's highlighted, back then at the end of the year last year, Cuomo was the guy. Cuomo was going on CNN. Cuomo was partnering with his brother, doing the cute little interviews. He was like the supposed going to be running for president.
Right.
And they were just loving on him. So they couldn't fathom him being that type of person who may have harassed the women that he worked with,
Yeah.
and made an environment impossible and uncomfortable for these women.
Yeah.
So
I don't.
I say that to say, all of a sudden today, now because Cuomo is kind of unliked now because the stuff is coming out of the closet, now they've reached back and they were like, hey, Lindsay, remember when you said the harassment thing about now? And that's what gets me the most. Because I know people under the story that I did for you last year, at the end of last year, they were saying, oh, she's just doing it for clout. She's just doing it for clout. She's just doing it for clout.
Right.
Because Cuomo is going to be president, or because Cuomo's in this particular position. But the misogyny is in that too.
Right.
So because they won't look at somebody who's so likable and loved and say he's possible of doing so, even if there are accounts and maybe receipts, they will still say he. And I read a comment yesterday that said specifically, Cuomo, even if he did that, I just love that man.
Come on, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
See, this is the problem that I have with all of this. And Rebecca, thank you all for covering it. And I'm familiar with Lindsay. I don't know, I can't say that I know her, but we follow each other on Twitter. And one thing I give you is she's consistent on what she fights for, whether she was running for office or not. I can say that much about her. But what I can also say is this selective concern over sexual harassment is a problem. If we're going to believe women, if that's the mantra that we're going to go under, hashtag believe women, then you can't drop that as soon as it becomes inconvenient for you because it's a politician that you like. Exactly. Now, realistically, we need to examine every single case by case by case and let the authorities examine it. But if we are going to go into that mantle and we've canceled other people because of it, then don't back down, because what it does, it's not only hypocritical, but it makes it extremely difficult for other women who come out and tell their stories, because they understand that you're only going to believe them if the person who harassed or assaulted you is their political rival. And what does that tell all of the women and, quite frankly, men who are assaulted and harassed in this country? It tells you that you're a political pawn.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting, Ben? It's funny because I just looked at it like it's a white woman who was saying this. And usually they are heard, at least over a black woman, right? We've seen that when it came to Harvey Weinstein and R. Kelly. So, but just to say that, I say that because I'm like, I thought that would make a difference, but white men will always be the hierarchy. Like they will believe whatever a white man says, especially a white politician that's a male, and they'll believe him over anything, especially if he's likable. If they like him, there is no way that he can do any wrong. So it was very interesting for me to see that, because they thought he was doing the best in New York and all of this, and this is the thing with media, mainstream media, they will latch on to those fluff stories and things like that, knowing that it would be in their best interest to cover the situations like with Lindsey Boylan, but they never touched on it. Never. What they touched on was COVID-19 situation, and then then they covered him actually taking the shot or whatever it was, or speaking to his constituents, and it made it look better. But meanwhile, Lindsey Boylan's in the background like, hey, y'all didn't, do you guys hear me?
Then.
Like,
right.
She's trying so hard. But it was just so interesting to me for me to see that, like, hands-on, like, dang, a white woman is literally saying that this man did that. And just a few years ago, when a white woman said anything at that point, it was like, oh, he did it. He did it.
There is a long list, though, particularly in politics, of even white. I'm going all the way back to 92. I cannot think of Bill Clinton's accusers, but anytime you run up against the political power structure in this country, it doesn't really care what your race is. It doesn't really care what your gender is. It does have preference. It certainly does, Rebecca, to your point. It certainly has preference. But if you have the nerve to go up against the most politically powerful people in this world, and it's not even going against them, it's like to just tell your story, what happened to you. And actually, let me get off that point, because I want to say this point, and then we want to bring in Marianne Williamson's. But here's the thing that really gets me about this, is that at no point will you see consistency in their conviction. You won't. You will have the same people who are saying, me too, turn around and say, but not now, but not here, but not, and it's always tied to politically powerful people. And I'm sorry, like I don't know the evidence. I'll let the investigation, Letitia James, she's gonna do the investigation, let it come out. But hey, I know I know this field. I know this political field almost as good as I know the church field. And I can tell you, sexual harassment exists from the top to the bottom. I don't care how powerful you are or how powerless you got. You could be the pastor of a church, or you could be the doorkeeper at the church, and that stuff goes on in political world. And you could be the president of the United States, or you could be the Lincoln Project, whatever. It doesn't matter who or what you are. This exists, and we cannot set the standard that the only time we're going to be upset about sexual harassment and sexual assault is when it comes from one of our political rivals.